up, Jay?
Nothing. See, I take a week off, and my whole computer is just telling me you need to call the Athletic and say replace me.
I agree. That needs to
Every
happen.
week, every week something stops working.
Oh man.
So now I'm down a camera. I'm down a microphone. Yeah, it's just they need take some of that NYT money and hook a brother up with a new laptop.
Please, yeah, we need some of that.
You got any opinions on the daughter of Anjali Ranadive being named the assistant general manager of the G League Stockton Kings?
Yeah, I got two things. Part of me, the cynical part of me, just laughs.
That's what we figured.
Like,
yep.
Yeah, but kind of the more pragmatic, understanding how the business goes. A lot of owners put their children in, important spots in the organization. But usually, you try to sneak them in like as a scout, and you move them up little by little. It's just kind of like, oh, just plop it right here next to, hey, Bobby, here's your new assistant GM. Like, okay. I mean, I don't really know what to, it's just kind of like another week in the Kings world. It's like they could, there's got to be something going on.
And Jesse, we were talking about this off air, and he was saying, yeah, you should have just named her a scout or something like that. I was you could have created a position. I wouldn't have said scout because I feel like I just don't feel like I'm not saying that she's qualified for this job from everything I know, but scout would just be like, all right, she's not flying to San Antonio on a Tuesday to
no.
So just make up a title for her. They could have made up a title. They did not have to make her the assistant general manager.
Put her like, I don't know what you do. It's just weird. I mean, it's weird, but it's the King, so it's not really weird. It's just like, really, this is what we're doing. Your Monty McNair can't get an extension. Well, whether or not he deserves one is to be debated. But by the way, Monty, this is now part of the brain trust. So I think that's the thing that is going to kind of just rankle people. You're talking about going into player development, and she has a voice in player development now.
Well, now we know why Monty hasn't gotten his extension, because we're ready to move the next general manager right into place.
Get ready a year from now. She'll be having a press conference at Golden One, and we'll be I'm just talking. I don't know that for sure.
Drake is going to perform at the press conference, or who is it? Tyga. Tyga will perform.
I'm there then. I mean, hey, it's just, I didn't have that on my Kings bingo card this week.
No, we were just worried about lottery balls when the show started, and then all of a sudden it was.
I'm just like, okay. I mean, it's so. It's not even like probably in the top 8 of the weirdest things I can think of with the Kings. This is almost. It's kind of like, okay, yeah. It's just, I don't know. I can't even. I really can't even come up with words anymore. It's like, okay. I have to think about the fact that other teams, like I said, Jeannie Buzzworth. I'm not calling her Jeannie by any stretch. I don't know if she has a business degree or anything like that. I don't know what her qualifications are. I've only seen her sing. So
those might be her qualifications.
Maybe I can't really speak it. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's just like, okay, this is what they want to do, I suppose, and and maybe they'll win another summer league title and she'll be at the podium.
If we get this
because of the players she helped get on the summer league team, who knows?
If we get this number 1 pick tonight, I mean, she's got to get credit for it. I'm just saying.
And they'll pick the wrong. I shouldn't say they'll pick the wrong guy at number 1. I'm sorry, I'm being mean. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that.
Absolutely,
I shouldn't be so pessimistic. If they get the number 1 pick, they can't mess that up, right?
No. Sure, whatever you say, Jason. They can't mess it up. Let's go with that. Sure.
But Jason, look, we had this discussion a little while ago, and we were talking about how like the Kings get flack for messing up the number 2 pick or whatever, and I just talked about how unfair it is. Because these people around the league, they mess up top picks all the time, and they're able to recover like all the time. Number 1, number 2 picks get messed up. Minnesota had 3 of them. Philadelphia, they got Embiid right, but they got 4 wrong. The Lakers got like 3 or 4 of them wrong, and they're all able to rebound. Why can't the Kings rebound from the one time they have like a top 3 pick?
Because it's a collection of like 13 or whatever of your last 16 lottery picks being flopped.
Mm.
I mean, let's do their lottery history. DeMarcus, okay, all-star. Well, who's the next best? De'Aaron?
Yeah.
I mean, Tyrese. I mean, he's not even on the team anymore. So, they've been in the lottery basically 15 of the last 16 years and have absolutely flopped repeatedly. Tyreek, won Rookie of the Year, so okay, maybe there's another one.
Yeah, I'll always debate that one, but I get
I'll
it.
say this
He won
about
Rookie of the Year,
my thing is at least Tyreek was an NBA player.
Sure.
They drafted guys
Mm-hmm.
who we all knew early on this ain't gonna work. I mean, the first time I saw Thomas Robinson playing summer league, I said, "Oh God, they messed up." I mean, this was summer league, and I said, "Oh God, this is terrible."
Yeah.
I had that feeling after Ben McLemore's first summer league game. I was like, "Ooh."
Oh yeah. But then conversely, Nick Stauskas looked okay his first summer league game. So I don't put a whole lot of But Thomas was the one guy that I saw in summer league and said, "Oh my God, what did they do?"
Damn.
Man, you know what the real concerning thing is you look at this, like I have these pulled up. Where did DeMarcus go? So DeMarcus, with all of his injuries, 654 games in the league. Of course, the next year Isaiah Thomas was drafted, 550 games in the league. But then you look, Thomas Robinson, 313. Ben McLemore has had a sustained career. Nick Stauskas in the 300s. Willie Cauley-Stein, 422 games. Marquise Chris, we know a variety of things was done there. There's De'Aaron Fox right there. Marvin Bagley's at 166, and obviously we're getting lower as the draft picks get current. But this is a tough list of names when you look at the draft picks since DeMarcus Cousins was taken. And even when you go back to before DeMarcus Cousins was taken, it's not pretty there either.
No, and if you look at the ones since Cubs, the guys that went after the guys they took.
Yeah.
It's just like, there's some of them where they would have threw a dart at the board. They'd have been better off doing that than the guys they picked. I mean, you had the 10th pick in 2017, and you traded down for 2 guys throughout the league.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have just stayed there and took Donovan Mitchell.
Yep.
This is true.
But no, you traded down and you basically took a flyer on a hope with Harry, and because Justin Jackson was a nice guy, and and you thought like I said, these guys are out the league. I mean, and that's the reason why people can't get over the Kings draft, because it's like you would think this many years in a row you get lucky 2 or 3 times.
Nope.
Not the
Yeah, you would think that after DeMarcus, DeMarcus was 12 years ago, and you haven't gotten one breakthrough guy since, and you've been in the top 5 2 of those times.
That's
I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's almost and some of their best draft luck has been guys fell to them. Tyrese fell to them. DeMarcus went 5 because people wondered about his attitude and everything. DeMarcus is not the 5th best player in that draft.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He should have went no lower than 2 based on talent. But guys had questions about him, and sometimes a couple times they've done really well. They just kind of sat there, and the guy fell to them.
Yeah.
And even with De'Aaron to a degree, I still say that was people considered that a 5-player draft, and they were like, whoever's left, you take the 5th guy. Because if that had been Josh Jackson, they would have took Josh Jackson. So I mean, I know sometimes you would think the lottery would be an exciting day for Kings fans, but I know it's just kind of like, okay, how are we going to mess this up?
No, let me ask. I wanted to ask you a question about the Ranadive's daughter's position, assistant general manager. Are you familiar with, like, number one, if other teams have multiple assistant GMs, and then like what exactly do they do? I know Sean Cunningham broke it down, but are they decision makers at all? Or are they just kind of sitting around taking notes for the actual GM?
It varies from situation to situation. They're not going to be the one who makes the actual decision generally, but they're going to be a point of contact for agents. They're going to be someone that teams, other teams might reach out to, especially if you can't get, the other GMs unavailable. You would ideally like them to be able to have some insider input when it comes to player decisions, like, hey, Joe Schmo was available. What do you think about him? Or maybe in some cases, if you want to mirror an NBA team, it really doesn't probably apply in the G League, but maybe your expertise is numbers and finance and how to make the contracts work. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But a big part of the G League is talent development. And that's a big part of the G League, especially if you're a team like the Kings, who you can't rely on. We're going to go out there and just sign a bunch of guys. In terms of depth, you need to have people in those positions who can really do the job. And I think a big part of it's going to be, what exactly is her job? But it's just, that's going to be the root thing. Like, who knows? Maybe she's an assistant GM, in charge. Who knows? But the fact she's in Chicago means you're part of probably you're part of the interview process with prospects. I forgot how old she is, but I can't. She's probably interviewing people she's barely older than. So it's a unique dynamic. Like I said, it's not completely unusual that someone would have their child in a position on a team. It's just,
is it concerning?
To me, it is, because unless she's been doing a lot of work that we don't know about, she went from singing the anthem and like trying to be a pop star to now I'm part of the front office.
That's a crazy.
It's quite the diversion from trying to get your stuff played on Spotify and Apple.
SoundCloud.
It's like you went from, okay, can I make an album? Wow, let me go. Now I'm in Chicago with the combine, going over vertical leaps and broad jumps, stuff like that. I mean, it's weird but it's weird, but it's normal, if that makes any sense.
Perfect sense.
I guess it just stands out because it's the Kings, and we get more anxious about it. What lottery were you at again? You told us the story about being in the back.
I was at the Luka. I was at the Luka lottery.
Oh man, why didn't we send Jason Jones back to the
I know
draft?
Sunday. I was in Vegas, but I know Sunday was a very somber day for a lot of people in Sacramento, seeing that happened.
Yes and no. Like,
I mean, get over it.
You can
Amy
move
was the
on.
one trolling the fans, not me. I was busy having fun. I barely watched the game. Once I saw it was a blowout, I'm like, forget it. I'm gonna have fun. But
so let me ask you about that though, Jason. Is it purely the fact that Sacramento hasn't won, which is why everybody comes with those particular Luka jokes? Because they don't have them for Phoenix, they don't have them for Atlanta, they don't have them for Memphis. It always goes back to Sacramento, but those teams have won. So is that if the Kings make the second round for the next 2 years, will they stop with the Luka jokes like they do everybody else?
No, in part because of other teams. Other teams the other teams you mentioned, the guys they drafted are at least on some level impact players.
DeAndre Ayton about to be gone.
No, he's restricted. They ain't letting him leave.
He ain't coming back.
He's restricted. He has no choice unless they trade him. So
they might trade
they've
him.
won. You think about a Trae Young All-Star. Jaren Jackson was considered a contender for Defensive Player of the Year. Now that he was able to stay on the court a good chunk of the season, Luka is Luka. Ayton is at least he's a starter. I mean, Bagley wasn't even starting by the time he left Sacramento. So I mean, and plus they're Sacramento. I mean, no one ever made an SNL skit about the Suns when they were terrible.
They should.
So, I mean, and the Suns have had some crazy things, and I mean, some crazy stuff. But they've won games. They got to the finals. They're a playoff team, so you can overlook some of that because whatever they did worked on some level. Nothing the Kings have done has worked.
That's what I'm saying. It's simply about the fact that they haven't won. Why this keeps coming up.
And I think they're still going to get made fun of too, just because, it is the Kings, and the fact that winning is they're not going to be winning, but just the fact that Luka would seem like, if there was a player that everyone assumed would be a king, the whole Vlade loves the European. Everyone assumed that anyone's going to take Luka Vlade. And then there was kind of an assumption after he didn't take him that Vlade must know something that none of us know. Because if anyone has scouted Luka, it's Vlade and his people. They know something that we don't know. That was kind of my thought. I was like, what? I'm like, what do they know? So all I've heard is great things about him. And they, so, I mean, there's just so many other layers. I mean, you can make fun of the Lakers for passing on Tatum and taking the lines. I mean, there's a bunch of examples.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the Kings. And as long as they have that playoff streak going on, as long as SNL has jokes, as long as former people got jokes, or I mean, it's not just around the league. I mean, I talk to guys I know around the league still. They keep asking me why they rush to hire Mike Brown of all people. I'm still getting asked that. Like, what was the hurry to hire Mike Brown? Like, why? They're going to question everything the Sacramento Kings do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you have the reputation that the Kings had, it's warranted. Even when, like, I don't think hiring Mike Brown was wrong, and I don't think there was a rush.
A lot of people do think it was wrong. This is great. A lot of people think it was wrong.
I mean, okay, like I get it. Like I understand people. Like I don't. Man, I guess I just see Mike Brown wrong. I don't think he's a bad coach at all.
I think you see Mike Brown a lot differently than folks around the league. Some folks around the league see Mike Brown. A lot of folks just see him as a guy who's not going to command the respect of the locker room, and that he's a nice guy. He's not terrible, but a lot of people just feel like that locker room needed something different. Like they needed a jolt.
Command the respect of the locker room. Like, you want respect here? I won 66 games in a season. You idiots have won 62 over the last 2. You want to talk about respect? I got back-to-back 60-win seasons. I got more wins as a Cleveland Cavaliers coach than your organization has in the last decade. You want to talk to me about respect?
Is LeBron going to be on this team next year?
That's the year after.
How old was the Aaron when he won 66 games? Like 12? These guys don't care about that.
Yeah, I mean, he won with the Lakers too. You know that.
That was 10 years ago when he got fired the next year after 5 games. These guys don't care about that.
Well, these guys don't seem to care. They don't care about winning either.
Well, I'm not going to debate you on that either. Like I said, I didn't mean to turn it to a Mike Brown session. I'm just saying that. I saw some of my buddies down in Vegas, and they were kind of like, I guess, like, what was the rush? What was the rush to make sure that Mike Brown didn't get away from you? And I'm like, man, I don't know, man. I'm out here trying to chill.
It's Kenny Caraway. That's what the rush was. They tune into D-Lo and KC every day, and Kenny's like, "What's taking so long? What's taking so long?"
3 weeks ago.
It should have been. They should have been. They should have been had. And the time ended up being right. It ended up being okay. But yeah, there was no need in waiting around. You got work to do, man.
I will say, Mike, the Warriors getting down by 50 something didn't exactly help people. So yeah, that was even though that's not an indictment on him as overall as a coach. It was just funny because the game before people were like, "Oh, look, our coach won a playoff game." They weren't claiming him, and 2 nights later it was like, "Oh well, that's Steve's team."
Hey Jay, let me ask you an NBA question real quick. Pat Bev and his little car wash the last 2 days, fair or foul?
Foul.
I agree.
He's running to. I mean, we get he don't like Chris Paul, but some of the stuff he was just. It was like, dude, come on, who hurt you? It's like you're Pat Bev. It's like, dude, It's like I don't get him sometimes. I mean, it's entertaining, but it's like, come on, dude, really? I don't think any of us think Chris Paul's still a great defender. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was clear their plan was to attack him, but then for him, then he was just taking shots at everybody, talking about, he subliminally threw Paul George under the bus. Like,
jeez.
Give him the same hate you give P. Like, what did Paul George at home in Palmdale chilling? He didn't need that. Paul George didn't need that, and then the whole Lakers is a bubble championship. It's like, but didn't you choke away a 3-1 lead in the bubble after you sat over there and made fun of Damian Lillard?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was like, and let's be real, Pat. you can't. You're no. I'm like you laughed at Damian Lillard, and then you blew a 3-1 lead, and now you want to say it was bubble. When if they had won that championship, Pat Bev would run around with his ring on his neck probably every week. I'm just like, I mean, it's almost sad they even gave him that platform to basically walk around and be a hater.
Yep.
They let him be a hater from 6 a.m. all the way to noon. Yep. And it was just like, okay, we get it. You don't like Chris Paul. We get it. You don't like, we get it. I mean, a lot of guys in the league don't like Chris Paul. I mean, and that's a fact. A lot of guys don't like him personally. But to basically talk about him like he's not even good and you're Pat Bev, man, chill. I mean, the same dude who threw a parade for winning a playing game. I was like, come on, come on now. My man went Kobe after Game 7 against Boston for winning the play-in game. I mean,
and these are the things with Pat Bev that, because I like Pat Bev, I like him. I like his journey. I think he's entertaining on the court and everything. He's cool or whatever. But when you try to box somebody like Chris Paul, now you make other people open up your permanent file and go through your stuff. We weren't gonna say nothing about you. It was just it was perfectly fine. But then you start running your mouth, and now we got to go through your permanent file. And there's a lot of stuff in there.
He waited until this year to fire that tweet about Westbrook. Westbrook been on his head for years.
Yeah,
he waits till Westbrook is having the worst season of his life, and he'd act on a team that's better than Westbrook probably for the first time in his career. And now he's got something to say. It's like, dude, where was this energy at when he was in OKC and you was in Houston? Where was that energy at then?
Right.
It's like, dude, you've had a nice little. Pat's had a great career. Relatively speaking,
for his role.
For his role, made a lot of money. Got a little name for himself. But dude, there's no need for. I mean, it's like he became a Twitter troll for the network. And just ran around just saying stuff, and it was like, I'm not even mad at Pat Bev. I mean, I'm more mad at the fact that something that's supposed to be passing himself off as journalism. It's really not though. But he should have been doing that on All the Smoke or something, or on a podcast.
Matt wasn't gonna have that.
Oh, Matt wasn't
gonna have that.
Matt would have checked him. Matt and Jack would have checked him on the spot. They just let him keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, some guys, guys did, but it was a clown show.
Absolutely,
Jason. We appreciate you as always. Thanks, homie. Get that tech support from The Athletic.
I'm calling him right now. This is getting ridiculous. Yeah. All right, so.
Thanks, Jay. That's Jason Jones, the professor.